Hey, this is the Well Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is a topic of why I don't feel sorry for Emmanuel Macron getting slapped in the face by his wife. Now, the simple reason why I don't feel sorry for Emmanuel Macron getting slapped in the face is due to his extreme mistreatment of Africans that he has definitely been a part of, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, of course, people would say, well, what happened to him and his wife was terrible and this and that. In true, honesty, she slapped him and it was recorded by the whole world. But at the same time, when you're someone who also is responsible for the extreme mistreatment of Africans, which when you look at what's going on in Africa, is extremely terrible. Why should I feel sorry for you for getting slapped in the face by a wife? If anything, that's karma. If anything, to be honest. And the reason why I say this, to go into further detail, in extreme detail to be more exact, is simply due to the fact that not only has France historically benefited from the mistreatment of African people for the longest time. We're talking about for centuries. As anyone who even has a basic degree of underground history knows, France has benefited a lot from Africa, especially when it comes to their resources and of course as well manpower. Africa has been through a lot because of France. Other nations were responsible for a lot of Africa, but France was definitely absolutely the freaking one of the worst, if not the worst, out of them. And even to this day, Africa still suffers the results of France's history of mistreatment, specifically through this particular thing that France has, this financial system that it has in Africa that exploits Africans, nations, and screws up a lot of money. Because even though I am critical of black people and I have my issues with my community, because I know all honesty we could do better, the truth of the matter is a lot of the things that also prevent us from succeeding, especially when you look at all the assassinations and all the mysterious disappearances and so on and so forth that have happened to African leaders who are actually talking about change and actually were kind of actually doing something, for that matter, okay, is that, a lot of them, to be quite honest with you, African leaders and so on and so forth who've been mistreated, and just killed because they actually wanted help. A lot of that stuff that happened, in all honesty, was because, of course, no surprise, France played a role in a lot of that type of stuff happening, okay? And that's the truth of the matter when it comes to all that type of stuff happening, okay? And that's the truth of the matter, because even though Africa has had its issues, like I was getting before, and stuff, they have had leaders that have been wanting to change, and they all disappeared, which a lot of them died because they were taken out by rebel groups and all that kind of stuff. So the truth of the matter is Africa has definitely had an attempt to sabotage us from seeing success and from actually getting fucking something. And as a truth of Africa and African history for that matter, there has been a huge sabotage. And a lot of that has been fueled highly by France. And of course, Emmanuel Macron being the leader of a nation, obviously no surprise whatsoever. He can obviously have a say on this monetary fund thing, the IMF, I believe is what it's called, or something like that, that's in Africa and screwing over many African nations and preventing them from succeeding. He can obviously, as a result, get rid of the IMF, or at least do things to kind of stop the IMF. And he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done any of that. And things have continued to get worse in Africa. And there's been definitely a lot of things that have also proven, or I should say suspicious attempts on Ibrahim Traore, who, despite some of his flaws, seems to be someone who actually wants the best for Africa. And that's the truth of the matter. Okay? Maybe it could be the people who have a very huge uh, influence in Africa and need a lot of its resources. I wonder, and that's the truth of the matter. You know, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's definitely very suspicious. Just like America's role in destabilizing Africa as well as other nations all through the world. You know, for that matter, specifically, of course, Africa. You know, so the truth of the matter is, I kind of feel sorry for him getting treated that way by his wife. Okay, because the truth of the matter is, if you're going to be responsible for mistreating people, and the most issue you have is, oh, I'm being abused and taken advantage of by my wife, who in all honesty, he's a president of a nation. Like, we can't tell them to just simply get her to leave him alone. Like, who's she at this point? He's the one who worked hard enough to be the leader of a nation, and you're telling me he's being bossed around by some woman who he met when he was a student and she was a teacher. At this point, at some point, you have to realize, like, she's kind of a joke at, in all honesty, to be honest with you. Emmanuel Macron could easily kick her ass out, you know, and get him out of his life. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of bullshit, you know, she might claim and this and that, you know, like, oh, she has evidence on him. Women always do that. At least toxic women always do that. They say, oh, I know some things about you that you don't want me to tell your friends and this and that. But he's leader of a nation. He could probably have her taken out if he wanted to, if anything. You know, by some of the some of the French secret services, and he's still being bossed around by this silly woman. You know, so when he's getting bossed around like that, and he's responsible for so much suffering for Africans, I can't really say I feel bad for him. I can't say I feel bad for someone who does something like that. People always been arguing, well, he's human too. But what about other people's lives he's ruined? And even in some cases, irreversibly ruined. To the point that they can't make a comeback in their life, and even in their afterlife, because they're suffering some of the worst humiliations indirectly as a result of his and France's specifically policies towards Africa. So why the fuck should I feel sorry for him? Like, in all honesty, if you want to find some Uncle Tom ass black person, you know, to agree with you on these fucking things, then go ahead, find someone like that. You know, like, just like that, those toxic white kids who say, you who say the N word all the time, the one ending in an R, and they're around their black friends, and the black friends don't even like flinch, you know, and they probably go by names of like Jimmy and all these generic names, or like all these black kids who are just straight up little Toms. Like, the truth of the matter is, if you want to find out, then go ahead. You know, at least if people are asking this question, I don't know what people are going to ask me this question, oh, well, he's human or this and that, but I'm just saying, if you expect me to feel bad for him, I don't. I don't feel bad for him. He's responsible for the misery um, of millions of people, tens of millions of people, in some way, shape, or form. So why the fuck should I feel sorry for Emmanuel Macron just because he got stabbed in the face by his wife and he's being abused in general by his wife? If anything, most of that stuff is happening is his own fucking fault. Why, like, you tell me you were being bossed around by a woman? Like, come on, man, you're a man. You could probably take her down anyway, even without, of course, the power of being a president behind you. You could take her down physically. You're being abused by a woman, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say here, and that's exactly the truth of the matter. He's a fool, is Shaman, if he's gonna be abused by a woman, and especially not only foolish, evil with what he's done to Africa. Because in the end of the day, you can't just treat people like shit and all of a sudden expect, oh, I feel sorry for you because of what your wife did to you or in general treating you or something, for something as petty as a domestic dispute over people being oppressed horribly and mistreated horribly, um, for that matter, and under deplorable conditions, sometimes to say the least, because of your policy. So in short, no, I have no sympathy for Emmanuel Macron and him getting slapped in the face. If anything, it's a sign of karma for all the things he's done to Africa and African people with the way he's being mistreated by his wife. And that's the truth of the matter. So anyway, this is my video. All I have to say is that I hope you found it entertaining as well as informing. And Just to let you know, if you are interested in watching any more of my videos, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. And this is all I have to say, and simply put on my so bye.